thought I'd catch you up on what I'm working on, because the X-Wing helmet is on the back burner right now, waiting on some stuff. So I'm working on this Loki mask. Really, I thought this wouldn't be that much work, and I was just going to do it off camera. I know I talked about filming it before, but I was like, it's probably just a little bit of filler and primer paint, and I'm done, you know. So not a whole lot, but the amount of work I'm putting into this thing is surprising. And mainly that's because of the casting having just a ton of air bubbles. I mean, it's like somebody poured soda in the resin. It's pretty bad. That being said, I've come pretty far on fixing it. So, like, let me catch you up on what I've done so far. Obviously, I've punched out the eyes and the mouth, because they were solid, and so I had to drill them out and then used my rotary tool to kind of grind them out and shape out the inner edges and stuff like that. So that's all been done. And then I started on trimming off any excess flashing, which was along these edges. I still got like little detail stuff that I could do on some of these edges, just to make it look a little less like it popped out of a mold, more like it's a piece of wood. So a little sculpting, a little artistic freedom for me, I guess, because there's not really a lot of good reference photos that show these edges, and you know, rightfully so. So because that nobody cares, honestly. So that's a thing. And then there was some really big non-fill areas, some big air bubbles that got trapped in the casting. The big bad one was the nose here. Basically the end of the nose was just missing. It's like a couple really big air bubbles got trapped in the mold, because I'm pretty sure the mold was like this, and so it had a surface right here, and so the air bubbles got trapped right there, and so no resin filled in that area. And so actually, kind of before I really started working on it, I'd mixed up some 2-part epoxy. You know, the stuff comes out of 2 tubes. It kind of looks like snot once you mix it. And I had a bunch left over, you know, because it's hard to get a precise amount out of those 2 tubes. And so I basically just took some tape and taped off the edges there, and then I took that epoxy and scraped it all up and filled it in there. So it looked like I was shoving snot up Loki's nose. It was kind of weird, surreal moment. Even though I had a big piece of tape on there to kind of work as a barrier, it was kind of weird to do. I was like, this is an interesting moment. Not every day you shove snot up Loki's nose. But if you look at this casting, it is riddled with itty-bitty tiny holes. I've been working just a little bit here, a little bit there, between things, just working on trying to fill in all these little micro bubbles all over the place. There's just tons of them. There's a big area here on the cheek where I experimented with using Bondo and acetone, trying to make a thinner Bondo and fill it in, but then it kind of filled in a lot of the details and didn't quite get the look I was hoping for, and so that didn't really work out. I mean, it looks okay, but it's not nearly what it should be. Lost a lot of detail of the streaks, but it's got a different kind of texture, which actually kind of looks a little woody-ish. So I've been playing with different things. And right now, like you can see it's in primer to, you know, I'll work an area and then I'll primer it just to make sure I can see that all the holes are filled. So I've done a lot of work on the nose bridge there, trying to get all the little holes out of that, which I've got probably 90% of them out. It's pretty clean, but that's a pretty flat and smooth area, so it's pretty easy to work on. But this wood texture is very difficult to work on. Just recently, as in last night or the night before, I did an experiment using Tamiya putty, which is this Tamiya white putty. I'll throw a link in the description if anybody's interested in that. And basically just pushing it in hard with my finger, just, you know, just a little blob, and I just smeared it in. I did it right around this eye right here. And then I would go in with a carving tool like this, and I'd scrape out the lines again, you know, just kind of carefully pull out, and then I'd smooth it out with my finger a little bit, and that worked pretty well. The thing is, though, that's pretty tedious. So I've had a couple successes with that now. So I've did it right here above this eye, not the whole thing, but you know, a good portion of it, and it was pretty successful. And then a little spot here, some spots here on the chin and down here, and some spots like right here. So those have all been very successful. They look pretty good. It's not 100%, but it's like 90%. And I'm okay with like a few little pinholes, as long as, because it's wood texture, it'll hide. Especially when I paint it a darker color, it'll disappear. So that's what I'm going to be doing, and I'm not going to film the majority of that because it would be horrible to watch. Worse than sanding, I think. So what I will do is I will show what I'm doing in case anybody has to do the same thing with, you know, micro bubbles in a casting that's wood textured. Then maybe you find this useful. Oh, and yeah, another thing I did is this whole bottom piece, like right here, the huge hole right there. Well, part of it was there's a big plug from the casting that had to be cut off, so that got reshaped. I cut it down and then reshaped and sculpted it, and then there's a big chunk missing, like right here, and so I had to add a bunch of putty onto that, which was a I can't remember what kind of putty it was. There'll be a link to it in the description. Aves Apoxie Sculpt. So I used that and sculpted that in, so it looks right. It looks like it belongs. So that turned out pretty successful. So basically what I'm going to do, guys, is I'm going to pick an area on here. I'm going to show you how I'm filling this in. All these little tiny micro bubbles. And how I'm carving it out. And then I'm going to brush on some primer afterwards. And that's all you're going to see until I get all this done, because this is probably going to take me a long time to get it to a point where I'm happy with it. And I can go further with the painting. So I will spare you the tedious watching of that. Instead, you get the tedious video of me talking the whole time. Alright, you guys, so that's kind of what I'm doing. I'm going to spare you guys the not so fun thing to watch. Let me know what you think. Let me know if you have a better way of doing it because I'd love to hear it. Believe me, I got a lot more to do here. Literally thousands of those little micro bubbles just everywhere on this casting. Working on it. And if I didn't explain it earlier, this is a casting of a screen used Loki mask. So the original prop, I think this came out of the mold. I don't know. The guy that sold it to me, he had either a casting of the original prop, or he had the mold. I'm not sure which. I think it was the mold, because he mentioned that the mold was really, really tired, and he wouldn't be able to pull too many more of these masks out without permanently damaging the thing. And that could be why there's so many resin, or it could be why there's so many bubbles in the resin. Honestly, it could just be that messed up. So I'm glad I have it. It's cool. It's gonna look great once I get done, but it's a lot of work. That's gonna be it, guys. Links down in the description. I'll have the Mr. Surfacer 500 primer in there. I'll have the thinner that I like to use. I'm gonna have the Tamiya white putty, which is kind of the key to this whole endeavor. Yeah, just a few different things. Clicking on those helps me out. Also, if you haven't and you're interested, subscribe if you think I earned it. If you're entertained, please let me know. That's gonna be it, guys.